Jim Kunkel here. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel and set the notification bell to all so that you won't miss any of my new content. On this episode of Global Topic, we're going to be talking about the importance of concrete floor surface preparation. Joining me today is Josh Jones, the president of Substrate Technology. Josh, could you take some time and explain your role with Substrate and what Substrate does?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thanks, Jim. Substrate Technology is a manufacturer of equipment for surface preparation. Floors, primarily, some vertical stuff, but mostly concrete grinders, shot blasters, scarifiers, and some other ancillary products that are associated with surface preparation. I've been working in the company since my dad founded it in 1995. At the same time, I was a contractor in the company. It started in 1991 doing surface preparation. So as the years have gone by, and I've assumed the role of so-called president, I'm also a technical trainer and handling sales in some regards, but for the most part, showing people how the equipment works so that they can use it safely and productively to do surface preparation.
So, Josh, would you say that floor surface preparation is the first and most important step, prior to the installation of any industrial, commercial, or institutional, concrete coating system?
Absolutely. When it comes to coatings being applied to a floor, it's kind of a joke, but we say that coatings don't have a brain. The chemistry has created this product to catalyze, harden, and wherever it's sitting or laying and it hardens is where it's going to stay. So surface preparation encourages that material to absorb into the surface and to grip to it and fortify it so that when it hardens, it actually is stronger than the concrete itself. And that's only able to happen because of the surface preparation that precedes the application of that coating.
So let me ask you this, if concrete is not properly prepared, what problems can arise?
Well, any number of problems. And this is definitely a problem in the industry, is trying to identify exactly what went wrong. And sometimes it's to find out who's at fault. But from the perspective of the coating and the actual, making it right and figuring out how to prevent that failure, the first one that can happen is basically just a surface or a substrate that's not clean. Again, that coating only knows how to harden wherever it is, whenever it decides to start to change viscosity and turn into a solid product. So if the surface isn't clean, it hardens on top. That means delamination, basically like paint or wallpaper peeling off a wall. The coating literally will sheet off the floor like a sheet of plastic, which is basically what it is. So delamination is a common one, one that can't be hidden. Everybody sees when a floor is falling apart. Another failure can be instigated by moisture. Moisture and the reaction that takes place that can cause delamination is definitely a debated topic as far as what exactly caused the moisture issue. But I will always go back to what the manufacturer says about a moisture-related failure. If it fails related to moisture or delaminates for any given reason, it all goes back to surface prep, because moisture-related failure is probably going to be a reaction with something that was in the surface of the concrete, and that should have been covered under surface preparation. But I would say the best answer to that, in the number of ways that can go wrong, at least from at least from a visual inspection, is the fact that the coating is no longer stuck to the floor. What caused it, though? Again, it's hard to say exactly, but it's all going to fall under surface preparation.
So for proper bonding, coating systems require concrete, surface to be, sound, clean condition, and to have a specific surface profile. What typical equipment can be used to establish a proper profile?
That's a good question. When it comes to the coatings, and this is what I always encourage contractors to do, when it comes to coatings, it'll be in the technical data sheet, exactly what the profile should be based on the manufacturer's recommendation. So when it comes to figuring out what the profile might be, depending on the verbiage that's in the document, it could specify a diamond grind. They may call it a concrete surface profile of a 2, a shot blast, concrete surface profile of a 3. Bush hammer is kind of an obscure way to profile a floor, but that would be what they would call a concrete surface profile of 4. And then you have a scarifier, which is probably the most aggressive means to profile a surface, because it's literally hitting the top of the concrete and breaking away chunks. But some coatings require that for the sake of bonding or gripping to the surface. as they gain strength and as tension is created in the product, so it actually grips to the surface of the concrete like Velcro. So it's a good question about profile and the appropriate equipment that does it, because if the manufacturer says a shot blast is required, it kind of takes the guesswork out of the contractor's hands. It takes that responsibility away because it specifies exactly the machine type. And thanks to the markets that we are able to exist in and the world we live in, there's so many different versions of that type of equipment. So it doesn't narrow any contractor down to one supplier. It's more about that process as being a universally accepted means to provide a certain profile and cleanness that coating requires. So I always say that lots of different equipment to do the work, but each one really does have its specialty and what it does or what it's intended to do.
So, related to concrete, when it comes to the owner's specification, what needs to be covered in an effective specification related to concrete surface preparation, also to related to testing methods and even, let's say, standards that might need to be in the specification as well?
Well, I think when I look at it from the standpoint of long-term performance, I'm always thinking, and I've been educated to think that the coating, again, doesn't know how to do anything but what it's designed to do. So if I look at it from the standpoint of the coating, it's very easy to say epoxy or very easy to say polyaspartic, to use the regular trade terms for products that vary widely, even though their chemical classifications might group them into 3 or 4 products. So I strongly, because I'm not a specifier, I strongly encourage anybody who's trying to specify a system to start from the product requirement standpoint. And then I know if the product has the right compressive strength, if it can handle, as an example, thermal shock, which some systems can't and some are perfect for it. When it comes to budget, when it comes to the realistic expectations of how that floor is supposed to perform every day, if we look at it from that standpoint, then there's a good chance we're going to specify the right product. And manufacturers, in my experience that I've worked with, I don't pay them for their time. I barely buy any of their product, but I call and I talk to them a lot. And in my experience, they love to talk about their product, and they love when their product is used successfully. So I would recommend anybody who wants to specify a floor properly to talk to the manufacturer of the product they intend to apply and follow their directions as much as is possible.
So a lot of it's already kind of prescribed. It's just up to the owner to incorporate that within their specification and job requirement. You would say that?
Yeah, I would, and of course there's always going to be some exceptions, but I'll always go back to, it's so much less trouble to prevent a problem than it is to fix it. When you consider the expense of, and these failures they're happening right now. When you consider, 10,000 square foot project that's getting a certain amount of a coating put on it, and it's, I don't know, $5 a foot, let's say. If it fails because of a 30-cent per square foot process, that was preventable. So, these are the nuances of the coatings world that I think when failures happen, it's usually the simplest thing. And, again, there's no reason to go ahead and rush through it. It's just a matter of good communication with the people that, know the intended products that are to be used, and the equipment and the manpower and training and safety. But yeah, I just am I'm an advocate of good communication between all parties for no other reason than the coating doesn't know what to do once it's mixed, except what it was designed to do. That's it.
Josh, we covered, a lot of information, related to, concrete floor surface preparation. In closing out this interview, is there anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to talk about that the viewers of this episode should take away from this episode?
Yeah, I think the most important thing that I see in the industry as I gain a couple, years of experience and having made the mistakes that I see happening now and trying to train around them is training, education. I would always encourage any business owner. Today, after we finish, I'm going to be attending a class because I want to learn. I want to know what's going on now, and I think that's what people who do coatings, the ones that are successful at it, I believe, are always trying to train their people to be better at using the products. So training, education, aside from obviously the regular communication on day-to-day basis before coatings are mixed, I don't think it's possible to get somebody to know enough about this industry and how to use the equipment. Reach out to the manufacturers. I can speak as a manufacturer if I'm wearing that hat and say, I love to hear from customers who say, how do I do this? Because it's much easier to help them and also feel good about supporting the customer before the mistake is made. After it's made, it's expensive and everybody is in trouble. So I would say education is probably the thing that we didn't talk about. But I would strongly encourage that people make it a goal for their company to constantly be upgrading their skills based on education.
On the topic of education, your LinkedIn profile, you do an outstanding job at providing informative videos, a lot of relevant information to the topics that we just covered. And what I'll do for everyone, the viewers, in the description for the video, I'll have a link to Josh's LinkedIn profile so people can connect with Josh and obviously reach out to him and ask any questions you might have. Josh, I very much appreciate the opportunity to talk with you, and I thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thanks so much, Jim. It's an honor to spend time with you, and I really appreciate what you're doing to help the industry. So thank you.
Okay, great. Have a great day.
You too.
The speed at which I travel with the machine is going to affect how it blasts the concrete. So the reason that concrete swipe there is darker is because I went faster, intentionally. I went slower here so I could get the floor as clean as possible. Here where I started out, I realized some of the stuff that's on here has a little more tenacity to it. Tar, epoxy, dirt, whatever it is. When I realized that I wasn't getting all that, I slowed down, and then everything is nice and consistent. Now the concrete's more exposed, but that's what it took to get it clean. Over here where I was going faster, well, I'm not adequately preparing the surface. If I blasted this way versus that way and I dump the coating on, we know the coating is going to stick here, but we know there's going to be some bond inhibiting agents that are left behind here. So again, it's a matter of, you know how to run the machine, but you got to fully know how to run the machine.
Right.
I bought the machine, I ran it, I did everything you told me. Well, if I dump it on here, I know I'm probably not going to get life out of the coating. So it's still in the hands of the operator. Whether it's manual or self-propelled where you adjust the dial and hit the button, or you push it yourself, the speed at which it traverses the concrete is going to affect the profile or the cleanliness of the substrate. So misuse, proper use. Unless the floor is soft enough, and if I go this speed and it's as clean as this, then I'm just being efficient. But if it's really hard, like on your really hard trowel slabs, you may have to go this slow, you may have to go even slower. The concrete will tell you that your speed you're running at is correct.